Hello, everybody! It's me, Carmine DiStefano, the Bookman, with Rockasite, where we're going to put together a customer registration management whatever system using CakePHP. And just to give you a little bit of an overview of what it would look like, we'll have, of course, our sign-in, which, by the way, we are going to make on our own, and I'll get into that as we progress. But we have our sign-in here, and when we go in there, we get to see our unsigned customers, our current customers. We're going to kind of simplify this a little bit more. And when you're here, you can go back to your dashboard here, and then you have your own profile, which gives you your picture and everything like that. And you have your edit profile, which you can edit your profile, and we'll do that another time. You log out, your customers, you go over here, see all the customers here. We're going to fix this up too, and we can make new customers. And when we make a new customer, we'll call them Jimbo Jones, and we'll give him a contact number of 456-7889, 1 blah 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 blah, and we'll give him an address of 123 Fake Street in KY, I don't know, 345 whatever, and then we'll give him an email address of Jimbo@Yahoo. And when you pick the birth date, it automatically, if you go back to, let's say 2005, and you say May, and you say 10th, or whatever, it automatically updates the birth date here, and you can't really do anything with that. I mean, you could, but, and then when you submit that, bam, you get that, and you see this, and then we can put in notes. This guy sucks. And then you put in a note, and it automatically updates. No refresh. And, we'll fix this up a little bit when you come back to, hit refresh, you see there it is. And then we got to work on that as well. It says unassigned, so then when we go to customers, we go to all, and we go to Jimbo. When we update, it will automatically say that he's assigned to us. So now he's assigned, but more or less it's just a means to get all your customers together if you're running a business, whatever. It again, a quick sort of take on how to make this site and everything like that. And again, it's with CakePHP, and as you can see down here, they have this iframe, which is a site within a site where this is running as this is running, but it's a separate kind of site. And this only is in development mode. And if you click on it, if you look here, it says variable 6. You can see all the variables that you're using. You can see the objects, customer object. You can see all the different bits to it, everything that you can utilize. Virtual has errors, blah, 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 everything like that. Validation errors, so on and so forth. You can see the session, which is the one that we put together, again, when we created the login and the creation of the user, the registration, which, by the way, if you want, log out. And we can always register here, and then from there we can put in our little thing here. We can call ourselves Timmy Tops. And if we try to put in a username, email address, that's already been utilized, it'll say that it's already been utilized, so we have to take another one. Well, I'll show you if you look at, keep doing that. And Tops. So the email's taken, and then we have to come up with a new one. And when you register, bam, welcome aboard. You have your initials there. Everything here is more or less set, ready to go. There will be some things that I'll add to it as we go along, because I kind of just wanted to get this ready and get comfortable with CakePHP before I put this all together for you guys. So again, we'll have a list. I mean, the all customers thing, we're just going to list the more recent customers. Like this is just going to list the more recent customers of the top 15 more recent customers. And then over here will be the ones that we have, that we've assigned ourselves to. And if you want us to do some kind of in-office or in-business messaging system, just let me know in the comments. We can do something like that where we have a picture and we have just all the different information about what's going on and whatever, and it gets sent to all the different people within the within the company or what have you. We could do something like that if you want. Right now, we're just going to keep it like this. And now let's get into CakePHP. CakePHP is sort of made in the annals of, say, Ruby on Rails. It was kind of made with that in mind, but with PHP. Now, I love Ruby on Rails. I mean, I love Ruby on Rails, and of course, I'm a PHP guy. So something that relates to Ruby on Rails is something that I was really interested in. The things I can say that I do like about CakePHP is that there are a lot of things ready for you the moment you actually start using it. The problems with CakePHP is that the framework is very rigid. There are a lot of things that you can't really work with that in other frameworks you can. I would not suggest CakePHP for someone that's new to all this object-oriented programming and frameworks and everything like that. I would suggest it more for people that are more comfortable with object-oriented programming in PHP and everything like that, or even if you're more comfortable in Python or whatever, or even Perl or Fortran. I just believe that there's a lot of nuance to it. And I'm going to show you when we get into it. So let's clear this out. Let's get out of here. And while we're at it, I'll keep this. Well, not this, but I'm going to close this out. And we'll go to the database. We have the CRM database. We're just going to clear this out. But I want to kind of redo it anyway. So let's go home. Let's go to our databases. Let me just clear this out. We'll start it over from the beginning. Repeat it from the beginning. So what we're going to do first, we'll worry about the database next. Let's get this thing installed. What I would suggest too, let's close this out. What I would suggest too is that typically what I would do when I'm installing any one of these frameworks, especially once we get back into, or once we start getting into Python or Ruby frameworks, what I would usually do is use the GitHub. For whatever reason, not GitHub, Git Bash. For whatever reason, Git Bash is not working with Composer. So with this, we're just going to use Composer. And what we're going to do, I believe we're going to, yeah, let's go like this. So the installation, as you can see here, it takes a command line. Now I'm going to just type it in. But it takes a command that's a little bit intricate. So it's Composer, so we're calling upon Composer. And we're going to create, by the way, the site is cakephp.org, just book.cakephp comes in, so that's all that is. But it's cakephp.org. Also download XAMPP, WAMP, LAMP, whichever virtual Unix server you use. I would suggest downloading this, which is Microsoft's Visual Studio Code. I would suggest using that. You can use whatever coding text editor you want to use. I would use this, and I would install every single PHP, CakePHP extension you can find. There are a bunch of them. PHP, you can do, there's a bunch of, anything you can find, the formatter, the namespace, all that shit. CakePHP, anything that's related to these, I would definitely suggest getting now. Because CakePHP runs specifically in .php files, Visual Studio Code, I haven't been able to find anything that organizes it or references anything like we've done before with Laravel and everything. So we're just going to do it ourselves. We're just going to go old school. But yeah, I would suggest installing all those. And is there anything else you might need to install? You need to install this, and then we need to install the actual framework. So create project, simple enough, but then it has this preferred disk. This is basically saying what version we want. And cake php/app : tilde 4.0, just saying anything. We're in 4.3, so you know. And we're going to give it the name CRM. Now it's going to install this in the CRM folder. And we're going to wait. So how are things by you? It's been a little bit of a time period. It's enabled now. Yes. I'm just going to say yes. We finished Laravel pretty quickly. We're going to finish this pretty quickly too. Do you trust? Yes, I do. Just keep going. There's always poppings, people. And again, we're going to have fun. We're going to enjoy ourselves doing this. I'm going to get more into the JavaScript end as we move along for future projects. That's just for myself. So now we go to CRM. And if you look here, like I said, we're going to do a little bit more JavaScript and everything to do real-time image and video updates, because we're going to do things a lot more intense and intricate as we move along. Right now, a customer registration management system, more or less, is something that you would use in a business. The one I'm basing this off of is the one that I use in mine. It's just a means to sort of get your customers, organize everything, and we can do things. I mean, again, you just let me know in the comments how you want to sort these things out, what you want to add, if you want to add anything, or if you have any questions about what we're doing. Always let me know in the comments. I'll be more than happy to answer your questions. So, one of the things we have here is we want to add the folder to the workshop, which is the CRM folder. Let's go over to CRM. So we're going to add that. Yes. And if you look, there's a whole lot of crap going on. But, all we need to do to run this is bin/cake, get out of my face. bin/cake space server. You'll see this, control, click, and then you get that. If you look, it says your version of PHP is 7.2 or higher. Your temp directory is writable. Everything is good. We've got the chef's hats, but there's an oven mitt here that's telling us that we're not connected to a database. To connect to the database is real simple. We haven't made it yet. We have to make it now. So we're going to call this CRM. We're going to create that. Let's start putting tables in. Let's start doing that. So we're going to start with the users. Users, we're going to make it a little bit simpler than I did in the last one. We're going to just basically have the login information, username, password. But again, the one thing about CakePHP that you have to get used to is they have naming conventions. When you build a framework, you need, when it comes to PHP, or pretty much anything on the internet, I believe, you need htaccess files. And the htaccess files are more or less XML that tell the web server how to read folders. With CakePHP, in order to make it easier for you to actually sift through your website and everything, or your web application, they have very strict naming concepts. Again, it's kind of like Ruby on Rails, where you don't have to tell it to look for a specific view. It will just know by the name what view to look. But again, then you can't really mess with the names and stuff. So you'll see when we get to it. When it comes to, we need 5 columns. When it comes to the database, you have got to make sure when you name anything in your database with CakePHP, you can deviate, but then you have to go through this whole song and dance of what to name it and where to look and everything. If you want it to be as simple and straightforward as possible, you have to name things a specific way. And first, we need to name this ID. It cannot be null. It's the primary key. We're going to auto-increment it. Then we're going to just go with the login information, username. And again, we're going to make our login, we're making it all by ourselves. We're not using, they have this authenticate download. It sucks. So I'm not using it. It's just horrible. Not only could I not use it in the sense that I tried using it and it just redirected infinitely, which is a problem with it, and you have to do some craziness to make it not do that. But I don't like downloading. I don't like downloading anybody else's. You want to download it and you want to read up on how to do it? Cool. It's right here. It's right here on the plugins. Authentication authorization. It's right here. You can read it. You can look at it. You can do it yourself. This is stuff you have to. I mean, it's insane. We're not doing it. It's logging in is so easy, especially if you're doing something that is specific to like your company or whatever. If you don't have to worry about external inputs or whatever, it is really not that big a deal to do a login. I've been doing them for years. It's not a big deal. Making sessions and everything. And one thing about Cake is that the session creation is real easy. So there's no reason. And we have to name this created, and it has to be a date time. It cannot be a timestamp. It has to be a date time. This is the way it is. And it's not updated, it's modified. And it has to be modified. And it has to be date time. That's the way it is as well. Now, the problem with Cake is especially is that it bases everything off of the UTC time zone. To change that is also a pain in the ass. It's not as easy as Laravel or, well, CodeIgniter. You could just do whatever you want. And it wouldn't be as easy as something like Slim, because Slim is basically your framework. You just put it all together on your own, more or less. It is in UTC, and in order to change that, it takes a lot of effort. So we're going to just make everything in UTC. That's it. We're not, because it's, if you want to do that, you can look at it, go right ahead. That's your business. I am not dealing with it. I tried it, I'm not dealing with it. So everything is in UTC. That's it. That's how I program. I program like the Bill Cosby parent. I just hit the older child. I shall never have it. Don't you hear her yelling? Because I'm not interested in justice. I want quiet. We're going to do that. We're going to do profiles. And again, you have to name them in the plurals. You have to put the plural. You have to. That's just the way it is. Something never change. We'll do the ID. We'll do the user ID. And we will do, we're going to add a bunch of columns here. We'll do the first name. Now, the reason why we're getting very technical with the way we name things, or precise, is because it makes things a lot easier. It makes association and relationships a lot easier. Just do what the framework wants, makes your life a lot easier. We'll put email in there as well. And we'll make that 150. We're going to put pic in here, image. We'll call it image. And this is going to be a problem. So I'm getting to that. Let's see, first name, last name, email, pic. Let me think. Anything else we need? Image. If we want to add anything, we'll add it later. And created. Again, date, time, and it has to be called created, and modified. So these are the actual employees. These are the people that are allowed to use this system. That's who we're creating here. And where's my save? Unlike Laravel, what we need to do with this is we need to do relation views. We need to relate these to one another. We have to. So our user ID is based on the users table and the column ID. What you do, what I just did, what I just did for you is what you go to the table. This is how you do it in PHP MyAdmin. You go to the table, you go to the structure of the table, and you click on this relation view. And we'll just do restrict. And we'll relate it to the table profiles and the columns user ID. And that's it. So I don't know if you have to go both ways with it, but we'll just go both ways with it. This is telling the database that we're looking at the profiles table, the column user ID is related to the ID column here, and over here, the user ID is related to the user's column ID. That's all we're doing. We also want to make a new table called customers. Customers requires a few extra, no, not really. Customers requires a couple of things, and then we're going to add more to it. You kind of want to ensure that you put as little information in each table as possible. Makes it a little bit cleaner. You don't have to. It's up to you. You can put everything you want here. But we're going to go primary key. We're also going to go we're going to go user ID. Since the customer belongs to the user. We also want the customer's first name. It doesn't matter if you name them all the same things. You kind of have to. Same conventions. Last name, that's all we're going to put for the customer table itself. More or less, the customer table is specifically to get the customers to put them into the database. Then the details will be all about who they are and everything. Created. As you can see, this is in itself taking a while. So the setup takes a while, but once you get into it, it's really not that big a deal. There are a lot of positives to this framework. I do really like it. I really do. I'm not kidding. It's a really good framework. Details are customer details. We're going to call everything by one name. We're not going to call it customer underscore details. We're going to simplify it. Customer ID, because it's the customer that it belongs to. That stays like that. We already have their first name, last name, so now we want to add some more information. We want to add address. 150. I want to add state. If you want, you can. There is a list of states that you can use as a select, and the select creation in Cake is really not that big a deal. I'm not going to worry about that. You can if you want. Zip. Oh yeah, we'll just do zip code. And I could make it an int. How much is it? A zip code can be 10 characters. Let me just do 10. Do varchar 10. We'll make sure that it's a number when you're doing the update. When you're doing the details themselves. Zip address, state, zip code. We'll do birth date, which will be a date, not date time. We don't care about what time you were born. Age, which will be an integer of 3. And for now, I think that should be good. I'm not really for... Oh, yeah, no, I know. And assigned ID. We got to add a couple more, actually. Let's add one more. Assigned ID is an integer. And status. Actually, let's put status first. Status I'm going to make into an enum. There's nothing you really have to do with the creation. Now, I don't want to make this slow and agonizing, but there's a lot that needs to be explained here. And we're just going to go unassigned and assigned. By default, it will be unassigned. And then we're going to go assigned ID. Because the assigned ID is not actually the person that put the customer in. And then, of course, created. Date time. Where's my date time? Date time, modified. Date time. It's good. Now, last one will be the notes. The notes are the customer notes. These are the notes that you're going to put in there to let people know what's going on with the member or the customer, whatever you want to call it. These are the notes that you're going to use. And we're going to put in, I think I'll put in one more column. And we're going to go ID, bop. We're going to go, based off the customer ID. And the note body. Actually, you know what? Let me add another one. User ID. And note body. Just so you know, well, we'll just call it body. Body will be a text. And created. Now, actually, that's all I need. I don't need to update it. And that's it. We're done. Now, what time are we at? Not bad. Now that that's completed, we have our tables. Let's actually look. Oh, yeah, I have to do my relations. The details, we are going to relate the details to the table customers ID. The customers, we will relate the ID column to the details table of customer ID. The notes, relate the notes to, no, it has to be the customer. Customer ID, customer's ID. If you want, we can also add another constraint, and that'll be the user ID to the user's ID. Details notes, customers we can add. ID to the notes. ID. And profiles we've done. Users. Oh yeah, no, I don't need to worry about that. Do I? No, no, I don't need to worry about that. Forget that. Nah, get this out of here. Drop this. Yeah, I need that. No, I don't need it. We can reference it another way. And so profiles are set. Let me just double check. Profile set. Well, I could add the notes in there. We could do that. Boop. Did I do that for the notes? Yeah, I did. Well, customers, let's see. Customers relates to the notes and the details, and that's fine. The details relate to the customers. The notes relate to the customers and the users. Profiles relate to the users, and the users relate to the profiles and notes. So that's all set and good. But we have to connect to this, and the way we do that is we go to config, we go to app local, and as you can see all this, like if you look, it'll say something about the timestamps, change it, and it just makes a mess. But we want to go to this right here, host, localhost, the username is root, the password is blank, or whatever it is that you have, and the database is CRM. This is your test. Don't care about your test. And your email. We're not doing emails right now still. We're going to get rid of that. And then when we do that and we come here, if we refresh, you'll see that now we're connected to the database. And we're all set to go. We have our database ready. We have our framework ready. We have our page. Some of the more disgusting stuff is taken care of. And now we can just get right into the files and all that stuff. And that's when things really get interesting. I will see you in a sec.